Today I'm going to show you how to make a wire rivet. I'm using 16 gauge copper wire. So you'll see I'm lining up my drill bit on a cheat sheet I made out of scrap metal that has different size holes in it. I want to make sure the size hole is the same as the size wire. The wire needs to fit snugly through the hole. So I've changed my drill bit in my drill press, and now I'm going to use an awl to make the dents in my metal. It's very important to make a dent first using a steel plate and an awl so the drill bit knows where to go when it's ready to drill. Each piece of metal now has a dent in it, and I'm ready to start to drill. I have goggles on to protect my eyes, and I'm using my drill press. I line it up first, and then I turn it on to drill my hole through the dent on each piece. After I drill my holes, the back of the metal will have some rough edges around the hole, so I want to make sure that I take it to the flex shaft or I sand by hand. Since I'm lucky enough to have flex shafts in my jewelry lab, I'm going to take my pieces of metal there and sand first with 220 on both sides and then 600. My metal will now be ready to put the rivet in. I've got my 16 gauge copper wire, a pack of files, a wire cutter, and a steel plate. Also, a ball peen hammer. First I'm going to take my 16 gauge wire and put it through the holes of both pieces of metal so they're lined up where I want them. I'm just using scrap metal for today's demonstration, but your project you want to make sure it's in the correct place. So you'll see my wire fits snugly through the holes, and while the wire is still through my metal, I'm going to take my wire cutters and cut some wire. Now let's talk about the length of wire that we need. If these are the two pieces of my metal from the side view, lined up with the hole drilled through them, the amount of metal I need sticking out of each end is approximately the width of one piece of metal. So essentially, the length of wire that I need is 4 widths of a piece of metal. You don't need very much sticking out of the end. Some of my students tend to cut way too much metal. Your rivet will then bend over and it won't rivet properly. When you do cut your metal with the scissors or wire cutters, it'll usually be pretty jagged. So you're going to take a pack of files, take the flat file, and you will file the ends of the wire on both sides until it is flat. So again, I have my wire through my pieces of metal, and I'm going to take my wire cutters and cut just a slight bit longer than I need. So now I have my wire in the hole still, and I'm going to put it on a steel plate so I can file the ends of the wire flat. Taking my flat file from the pack, I'm going to hold the metal down and begin to file evenly so one side of the wire is flat. I'm going to flip over my metal pieces and file the other side of the wire so that side is flat as well. If I cut too much wire, too long, this will take me a lot longer. Okay, my metal's ready. The wire has been filed flat on each side. And I'm going to take a small ball peen hammer, the smallest that I have. I'm going to use the ball end, hold my metal down, and tap, tap, tap real gently on my metal wire against the steel plate. I'm starting to round the end of my wire. I'm going to flip it over, push my metal down, and tap, tap, tap on the other side. Now if my metal is too long, it'll curve over just like a candy cane. So again, the amount of metal I want sticking out of the hole of my sheet is just about the thickness of a piece of metal. So what I'm doing to the end of my wire right now is I'm hitting it, it's starting to flatten. So really it's kind of starting to mushroom out and become almost like a nail head on both ends. That's what a rivet is. It'll hold the metal together. So I'm tapping with the ball peen side, holding my metal together, pushing it down, and hoping to flatten that. Once I've begun to mushroom the sides of the wire, I'm going to take the flat side of my ball peen hammer and flatten the wire now, flatten the rivet. So to spread out on both sides, so it can't go through the hole anymore, and I'm just flattening it. So now you'll see that the metal is connected with my 16 gauge copper wire rivet. If I need to sand it a little to smooth it, I can certainly do that.